A gnome artist draws Pokemon.
Ba, 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 ba. Holy Omanyte! My goodness! Yo, who's that Pokemon? Starting off with a nice little Omanyte. Now this is sped up. This took me about 20 minutes, but I wanted to condense it in 2. So later you'll hear a little chipmunk version of me do a little song, because I thought it was funny audio. You'll see that my sketch took up very little time. Mostly it was based on the coloring. Oh, here's that music. Beautiful. Deserves a Grammy. Like I said, coloring takes up a much bigger part than the sketching. The sketching I was kind of like, it's good enough. I knew that I was never going to get it perfect. So, but I did want to try the coloring. You know, you don't have to be an artist to kind of recognize color. So I really wanted to work hard on it. I knew that my Omanyte didn't look exactly like an Omanyte, but it was also at a point where I couldn't figure out why. But anyway, here's my Omanyte. And here's the big reveal. We're going to move Omanyte over to the right, and then we're going to show the reference. Boom. And here's the point where I got really dispirited, because clearly what we drew was not Omanyte. But I did try to make some comparisons. So obviously the shell is awful. Mine's like an octopus head. Omanyte's shell is like a circle. And then these large mustache tentacles. That's why the lines are a bad idea, because I missed out the mustache tentacles. The real Omanyte has 5 tentacles on either side, and mine only has 4 because I omitted the mustache. And then we took a look at the hood, and mine has a hard shelf versus the actual shell. So I considered Omanyte a failure, but the coloring was okay. So there's that. It's not Omanyte, that's for sure. All right, come on, we need a redemption. Who's it gonna be? Give me someone good. Let's go. Come on. It's gonna be a Cubone. Woo! Let's go, Cubone. Who's that Pokemon gonna be? All right, and here we go. We're on Cubone. So Cubone was a little bit different than Omanyte in the way that I kind of spent more time on the sketching aspect of it, because with Omanyte I could tell something was wrong with it, but with Cubone I could tell something was wrong with it, and I was obsessed with trying to correct it. With Omanyte I kind of just accepted it. Like here I was debating whether the bone went in his left hand or his right hand. Obviously I chose his left hand, but you know, we'll see if that's correct or not. I also couldn't figure out his legs. I knew that they were stumpy, but I just kept trying to make him tall for some reason. The skull really threw me, because no matter what I did to it, it never looked right. And when we get to the comparison aspect, or if you have an idea of what Cubone actually looks like in your head, you'll see why the skull never felt like it looked right, because it doesn't look right. But for Cubone, the coloring really took a little bit less time than the sketching. Cubone, I was pretty confident on the colors. There wasn't really a whole debate. I didn't make a swatch like Omanyte. Cubone, I was like, he's brown, and he's got bone-colored skull and bone in his hand. Like, it really wasn't that crazy. But you know, obviously, just like Omanyte, I knew that this was not correct. But it was acceptable, I think. And here's the actual Cubone and my Cubone. And you can see I go over the differences, which is everything. Everything was wrong. Every single thing. But that's my Cubone. It's It's kinda Cubone. All right, we need a redemption after that one. Who's it gonna be? Big money, no whammies. Big money, no whammies. Oh, it's Krabby. Dude, I love Krabby. Let's go. Krabby. You already know who's that Pokemon. And here we have Krabby. Krabby was one of my favorites. It took me the longest out of all of them at almost 50 minutes. And for some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason I felt like I had this one. You know, I had done Omanyte, I had done Cubone, and I was so ready to get into this Pokemon because I knew Krabby. Krabby was one of those Pokemon that just like stuck with me from when I was a kid. I don't know why. But I was pretty sure, I was pretty confident going into Krabby. And then I started drawing Krabby, and as you can see, that confidence kind of started to dwindle because I couldn't figure out why my Krabby looked not like Krabby. Right? I had the big claws, I had the pose, I had the legs, I had the eyes, but there was something wrong. There was something dreadfully wrong with him, and I could not place it. Eventually, I kind of did an Omanyte and just accepted him for who he was, and just started coloring him in. I did make a few adjustments while I was coloring because I realized there were some things that didn't make a whole lot of sense, like his mouth line there. But even the colors, you'll see in a second, turned out to be wrong. A lot went wrong with Krabby. I'll be the first to admit that Krabby was not my best work. And here we go. Because that's what Krabby looks like, and here's my Krabby. But I got the little hook on the claw right, so there's that. Ah, Jesus. It's Supermarket Krabby! Spinning the wheel, spinning the wheel. What are we gonna get when we spin this wheel? We're gonna get a Dodrio, the three-headed chicken. Okay, we got this. Easy. Who is that Pokemon? And here we've got Dodrio. Now, Dodrio was interesting because Dodrio was the one where I decided that this whole blue lines to kind of signify the pose, it wasn't working. It wasn't working out. Probably not going to do it anymore. Because you'll see at the end that the head placement, the skeleton, like the little blue outline thing that I did, really didn't help, and it in fact hindered especially the heads because of the way that they were facing. I assumed that I understood what the skeleton meant, what the little line meant, and it did not mean that. But you know, as far as the sketch goes, I think the sketch was okay. It's not Dodrio, but for what it is, it's pretty good. I couldn't, for the life of me, decide on the colors. I knew that there was red in there somewhere, so I just decided that his head feathers had to be red and the tips of his tail had to be red. His, which was a mistake, obviously, and I was wrong. And I decided that he had little black rings at the base of his neck and at the base of his legs. He doesn't, so that's wrong. And everything is wrong, and this is not Dodrio, but this is my Dodrio. And that's all you can really ask for. So I think here we'll move mine to the right, and this is actually Dodrio. You'll see that I messed up the heads anyway. It didn't matter that I had the little lines, and so I probably won't do that in the future. Look at the tail. Look at how bad that is. Oh, goodness. Good Lord, Dodrio indeed. It's Teemu Dodrio! Now time for what was going to be the final episode 1 Pokemon, but then changed to not the final episode 1 Pokemon. It's gonna be Doug! Trio! 3 Dougs in the ground. Let's go. Who is that Pokemon? And we're on Dugtrio. Now, Dugtrio was originally the last drawing that I did for this episode, and then I moved some things around in post-production, and I moved one of the drawings from episode 2 into this episode, which was Seadra. So Dugtrio was originally the bookend, now he's the second to last. I think that Dugtrio might be the closest one that I've gotten to the actual thing, which makes sense because he's essentially 3 cylinders sticking out of rocks. However, I still did manage to mess him up. Mostly, I made him too bendy, right? Dugtrio is actually very straight, up and down, but I wanted to do like a sort of a bend out sort of pose for him. And that's just not the way he is. Doesn't his noses look like little mouths? I don't know why. It's just I just can't unsee it. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. It gets better once I shade it. I was particularly proud of the shading on this one. I'm sure that if you actually know how to shade, then you're looking at the shading like, what the heck is this guy doing? I get it, all right. But I actually think that the shading looks pretty okay. It doesn't look like Dugtrio's shading, as we'll see, but as far as my shading goes, I think I kind of did pretty good. I kind of cooked. Now we'll move him over and we'll see the actual one. Boom. You'll see that the shading is different. You'll see that he has straight lines and mine does not, and the gravel is significantly different. But I think that this might be my best work so far, right? I mean, look at that. Come on. I think so. I like it. He may be bendy, but that is Dugtrio! And definitely not done on a completely different day as part of a completely different episode. We're spinning the wheel, and we're gonna get a mystery Pokemon that turns out to be Seadra. Who could this Pokemon even be? And the finale for episode 1 is Seadra. Now, you'll notice that my drawing is a little bit different here, and that's because this was actually drawn weeks after the other ones. Like I said, this was originally going to be part of an episode 2, but because of some moving around with the scheduling and stuff, I decided to just kind of tack this on to episode 1 and do 6 Pokemon an episode instead of the original 5. So I was out of practice. I wasn't in the swing of things. I was doing a weird sketch style. I forgot to do the select all thing to restrict the coloring, so you'll see it gets all blotchy. It was all over the place. It was a mess. But excuse me. But as far as the actual design, I think if you really examine it, you'll see that that it's really bad. Right? If you really take a discerning look at it, you'll see that in no way does it resemble Seadra, and I'm pretty sure that if I submitted this to any art institute, that they would actually rescind my any degree that I may have already had, in addition to rejecting me from their school. This was real rough, really rough. If I didn't have the lines, I don't think it would have been anywhere close. And even with the lines, it barely is manageable. You know, it's barely there. So we're really ending off the episode on a high note, I think. But I mean, look at this. You really just can't get much worse than that. Oh man, it's totally Seadra, I think. Hey, I just wanted to thank you guys for sticking around, and I hope you had as much fun watching me try to draw these Pokemon as I did trying to draw these Pokemon. Um, I don't know where this is going to go. I hope that we get all 151 eventually. Um, I had a good time, and I hope you did too. And I will see you on the next episode. Bye bye.